In 2016, Ovation Brands, the parent company running Hometown Buffet and Country Buffet, collapsed. Over $2 billion in cumulative losses, gone. And it wasn't a freak accident, it was math. The cold, ugly, inescapable math of the buffet business model. The same math that's quietly killing buffets all across America right now. On the surface, owning an all-you-can-eat buffet seems like a genius idea. You cook food in bulk. Customers pay one flat price up front. They eat, they leave, you pocket the difference. Simple, scalable, brilliant. Except that model has a fatal flaw baked right into its DNA, because the same system that makes buffets feel like a deal to the customer is the exact same system that destroys the owner. Today, we run the real numbers, startup capital, operating traps, and the actual profit margin to find out if owning a buffet is a cash machine or the most expensive mistake of your life. Here's why smart people get lured into this business. Walk into any busy buffet on a Friday night, and you see hundreds of people eating, a constant flow of bodies through the door, cash hitting the register every 5 minutes. It looks like a license to print money. At $12 to $14 a head, and 200 covers at dinner, that's $2,800 in a single evening service. Multiply that across lunch and dinner, 7 days a week, and you're theoretically looking at north of $400,000 in annual revenue from a single location. Sounds incredible, until you realize what that number actually costs to produce. Before you serve a single plate of fried chicken, you have to survive the startup gauntlet. And for a buffet specifically, it is one of the most capital-intensive food concepts you can choose. Unlike a standard restaurant where customers order off a menu, a buffet requires industrial-scale cooking infrastructure. You're not buying 1 or 2 ovens. You need commercial steamers, commercial fryers, massive walk-in coolers, custom-built buffet warming stations that run continuously, sneeze guards, soup warmers, dessert cases, and a dishwashing system powerful enough to handle 1,000 plates a day. That equipment package alone, before you even touch the building, can run between $80,000 and $150,000. Then there's the space itself. Buffets need square footage, a lot of it. You need room for the buffet line, room for seating, room for a full commercial kitchen running behind it. A viable buffet operation typically requires 4,000 to 7,000 square feet minimum. In most metro areas, you're looking at a build-out or lease deposit that chews through another $100,000 to $200,000 before you serve day one. Stack on top of that your permits, your health department certifications, initial food inventory, staff training, your first few months of operating capital as a buffer, your point-of-sale system, and your marketing spend to actually get people through the door. A realistic, properly capitalized buffet launch costs between $250,000 and $500,000. That's the real price of entry, and that's before you've sold a single plate. Here's where the buffet model gets genuinely dangerous, and it's the part most aspiring owners don't model correctly. The operating costs are relentless, they compound on each other, and 2 of them are completely outside your control. Start with food cost. In a traditional restaurant, food cost runs at about 28 to 32% of revenue. That's the industry benchmark. You charge $15 for a dish that cost you $4 to make, perfectly calibrated. In a buffet, that control is gone. The customer decides how much they eat. You have no portion control. You have no ability to charge more if someone eats 3 plates of shrimp instead of 1. Your food cost at a buffet typically runs between 35 and 45% of revenue, and if your buffet caters to a population of heavy eaters, it can push past 50%. But food cost isn't your biggest problem. Labor as a buffet doesn't require servers taking orders. But don't mistake that for low headcount. You need a full kitchen crew producing food continuously across 6 to 8 hours of service. You need floor staff clearing and resetting tables fast enough to turn seats. You need someone managing the line constantly, refilling trays, replacing empty pans, tossing expired food. At a minimum viable level, you're staffing 15 to 25 people across a full day's operation. At current minimum wage levels in most states, labor alone consumes another 30 to 35% of your revenue. Add rent and utilities because buffet kitchens run hot equipment 12 hours a day, driving electricity bills that would shock you, and you're easily pushing 80 to 85% of your revenue out the door just to keep the lights on and the food hot. That leaves you with 15 cents on the dollar before a single unexpected expense hits. And here's the thing about buffet economics that the spreadsheet never captures. The model has structural vulnerabilities that can detonate your margins in ways you cannot predict and cannot prevent. The first is waste. Every hour your buffet is open, food sitting on that line past its safe window gets thrown away. Industry estimates put buffet food waste at 10 to 15% of total food purchased, and that cost sits directly on top of your already bloated food cost line. On a restaurant doing $400,000 in revenue, that's $40,000 to $60,000 a year in literal trash. The second is volatility. A single bad Yelp review, a single health department citation, a single local news story about a stomach bug, and your buffet can see a 40% revenue drop overnight that might take 6 months to recover from. No other food concept is as reputation sensitive as a buffet because the entire value proposition is Trust us, the food is safe and fresh. The moment that trust breaks, so does the revenue, and the third, the one that actually killed Hometown Buffet, is demographic shift. Buffets depend on volume, they need a steady stream of customers to amortize the cost of all that food sitting on the line. As America's dining preferences shifted toward fast casual and delivery, buffet traffic dropped systemically across every major chain. It wasn't one bad decision. It was the entire economic foundation eroding beneath their feet. Now, before we look at how smart operators actually pull money out of this trap, if you're finding this breakdown of the hidden math helpful, hit that subscribe button right now. We analyze the raw economics of complex businesses every single week so you never go into an investment blind. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the buffet operators who survive and some genuinely thrive don't rely on the base model alone. They engineer additional revenue layers that most customers never even notice. The single most important lever is beverages. Drinks are excluded from the buffet price at most operations, and soft drinks carry a food cost of under 5%. A table of four that each orders 2 sodas generates $12 to $16 in near-pure margin on top of the flat entry fee. Smart operators push beverages hard because a 10% increase in beverage attach rate can move overall profit margin by 3 to 4 full percentage points. The second major lever is private event bookings. A buffet space, with its flexible seating and high-volume kitchen, is naturally suited for catering corporate events, birthday parties, graduation dinners. A single private event booking for 150 people at $25 per head generates $3,700 in a single service window with predictable, controllable food cost. Operators running 2 to 3 events per week can generate 6-figure annual event revenue that dramatically stabilizes their overall income. For operators in states that allow it, a beer and wine license transforms the economics further. Alcohol margins run between 60 and 80%. A buffet that converts even 15% of its covers to a drink purchase at $8 to $10 each is injecting tens of thousands of dollars in high-margin revenue into an otherwise thin-margin operation. And finally, the most underrated play, prepaid membership passes. Some newer operators are experimenting with monthly buffet memberships. Pay $45 to $55 a month, eat as often as you want. The psychology works in the owner's favor. Most members dramatically overestimate how often they'll visit. The owner captures recurring, predictable cash flow, while the customer feels like they're winning. It's the gym membership model applied to food. So after all of it, the food, the labor, the rent, the waste, the utilities, the marketing, what does a buffet actually net? The honest number is between 2 and 6% net profit margin in a well-run operation. For context, the average restaurant industry net margin is 3 to 9%, so buffets don't look wildly out of place. But the standard deviation is brutal. A buffet operating at the low end of that range, 2% on $400,000 in revenue, is netting $8,000 a year. That is below minimum wage for the owner-operator who's putting in 60-plus hours a week. A high-performing buffet, running strong event revenue, tight food cost discipline, aggressive beverage programs, and consistent customer volume, can reach net margins of 8 to 12%. On a location doing $600,000 in revenue, that's $48,000 to $72,000 a year. Not life-changing, but real. The difference between those two outcomes isn't luck. It's food cost discipline, it's beverage revenue engineering, it's location quality, and above everything else, it's reputation management. Your Yelp rating and your Google reviews are, functionally, your most important financial assets. Here's the uncomfortable macro truth you need to reckon with before you write a single check. The all-you-can-eat buffet sector has been in structural decline for over a decade. The number of buffet restaurant locations in the United States peaked somewhere around the late 1990s and has been contracting ever since. Hometown Buffet, gone. Old Country Buffet, drastically reduced. Ryan's, effectively extinct. Sizzler, a fraction of its former size. The cultural tailwinds that once powered buffets, large families, value-focused dining, a preference for variety over curation, have been replaced by a generation that wants fast casual quality, Instagram-worthy plating, and delivery convenience. The buffet's core value proposition, unlimited quantity at a low price, resonates less with a customer base that increasingly values quality over quantity. But, and this is the critical nuance, the death of the traditional buffet model is not the death of the buffet format. The operators growing right now are the ones who've reinvented it. Modern hot pot buffets, Korean barbecue, all-you-can-eat concepts, high-end sushi conveyor belts, upscale brunch buffets at $35 to $50 per head. These concepts capture the variety and abundance of the traditional buffet while attaching premium pricing that fundamentally changes the unit economics. When your average check is $40 instead of $12, your margin math transforms completely. The traditional buffet is a value business trying to survive in a world that no longer values what it's selling. The reinvented buffet is a premium experience business, and the economics couldn't be more different. So what actually separates the operators who build a real business from the ones who spend $250,000 to earn less than a part-time job? Winners pick locations with ruthless precision. A buffet lives and dies by foot traffic and local demographics. The operators printing real money are positioned near high-density residential areas, adjacent to major retail anchors, in communities with high family household rates. Location is not a detail, it is the primary variable. Winners manage food cost like their life depends on it, because it does. That means real-time waste tracking, rolling menu rotations based on what sells, and the discipline to pull items that aren't moving, rather than letting them sit on the line burning cost. And winners engineer revenue beyond the base cover. Events, beverages, memberships, they treat the buffet line as the anchor, not the ceiling. The ones who fail chase the old model in a world that's moved on. The ones who win understand that the buffet is not a product, it's a platform. And the question isn't how much food you can pile on the tray, it's how many revenue streams you can build around it. The economics of owning a buffet are not forgiving, but they're also not impossible. The math just demands that you go in with your eyes open, because the buffet doesn't have a sneeze guard on the financial risk. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit subscribe. We run the real numbers on businesses like this every single week. And drop in the comments, would you open a buffet? And if so, what format? I want to know if you'd go traditional or reinvent the concept entirely. I'll see you in the next one.